Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us John Voris, who is the founder of Authentic Systems. Welcome to the program, John.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Hey, you're welcome. I'm looking forward to this interview because you're really intriguing me with this topic that we're going to talk about, a simple hack that will help a parent of a college-bound student save tens of thousands of dollars in tuition. So I'm really excited to hear about that. But get us started with first, what's a little bit of your background and what led you to work in this area helping parents of college-bound students with many different facets of college and selection of colleges, and now we're talking today on saving money on tuition.
Well, years ago, I tried my hand at door-to-door cold call sales. I was terrible, and I had taken those courses on sales. It didn't do much for me, and then I dropped sales altogether. Then returned to it years later because I was forced in a very odd situation, I'd say. So, but I had to invent something, discover something, another way to find out what really motivates people, and that's how I started. And that was back in 1980, and over 20 years, I learned that there's various aspects of how to discover what motivates people. And then in 2003, I retired and been giving seminars, workshops, and being on podcasts, of course, and doing assessments. And the assessments is where I've really been able to save parents money.
You know, I think that a lot of times people might hear some simple thing like, oh, well, this assessment will save you money. It sounds like fill in the blanks. You know, fill out this form and poof, here's, a bunch of money coming flooding your way. And I realize that's not the case. So let's dive in a little bit and unpack what is this assessment you're talking about. And then once we understand what that is, then let's understand and move to the next point, which is using what we have learned in this assessment. How in the world will it help save money?
Certainly. So students, 18, 19, 20 years old, they really don't know what they want to do in life. They usually follow the suggestions of parents, friends, school teachers, etc. And usually the parents, good-natured parents, want to head them towards something that makes good money. We need to do that. So that may be fine, but that might not be where their real motivation in life is. And so I've assessed many students, 17, 18 years old, who were on a path that they really didn't want, but they wouldn't tell their parents. So what I do is I assess them right with their parents in the same room, and they can see how I take their child through this process, and they see exactly what that child really wants to do. Now, how that saves money is by following the dreams of a parent or a teacher or a friend. They find themselves graduating or not graduating, leaving school because they're bored, leaving school because they haven't found any meaning in life, and all that money was used for tuition is wasted. And usually it's about 73% of the kids that go to college really don't use that degree for their intended purposes. They get just a part-time job, full-time job, and in something altogether different. So why spend $35,000 to $60,000 for a college degree when they're not going to use it? If you find
that's
what really
$35,000 to $60,000 a year. So yeah. It's that times 4. That's a whole lot of money, isn't it?
Oh yes. So I've got many situations where, for example, one young man wanted to be a police officer, a highway patrolman, and he'd gone to about 2 or 3 years of college, and then he started to not take as many classes. He wasn't as interested, and it started to wane until he quit. And he quit altogether, and his father called me up and wanted me to give him an assessment. And what I discovered was he was the type of person that's driven by the life thing called justice. And one problem that they may have is they don't like to cause conflict. So here is a highway patrolman giving out tickets all day. So that really stuck with him on an unconscious level, and so he was avoiding it. And that's what happened. So once we had the discussion, the assessment, he found that he really enjoyed probation, and he'd like to be a probation officer. And I said, why don't you go that way? And it's just we had that discussion for the first time, and he loved it, and he went back to school, and he became a probation officer up north. He's been there about 2 years.
So this assessment that we're talking about is much more than just, here's a 2-page questionnaire, please fill it out and have a nice day.
Exactly. What I do is I have a questionnaire, but it's going to be a one-on-one relationship. It's live. That's a huge difference. So they might fill out an answer, but I'm not really interested necessarily in that answer because I'll have a follow-up, and I'll have a follow-up to a follow-up. So, for example, if someone said, well, gee, you like algebra. And it says, oh, yeah, I really love algebra. Well, what else? English and history and all these other humanities. And I would go back and say, well, how is it that you liked algebra? And he said, because I really liked the teacher. I didn't like algebra. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And so you can't have a follow-up question. And that's where you really do find the answers. And the other is that these are just behavioral questions. And what I want to do is go beneath the behavior and find the motivation. So when a little boy says, why did you hit Bobby? And he says, well, because Bobby hit me first, that's the cause and effect. And it stops. But what really caused him to hit him back? Well, it's his motivation. He felt like maybe revenge. He wants to teach him not to do that anymore. Maybe he doesn't hit him back because he doesn't feel violence is the way to go. But it's the motivation that drives cause. And the motivation's missed in a regular assessment just in writing. You have to have a follow-up.
Yeah. Well, I think that you're really hitting the nail on the head here, which is there's a few different aspects of this assessment. And I think a lot of people think, I'm real busy, just send it to me and let me fill it out. Give me an online thing. And you're talking about having someone to coach and guide you live, one-on-one, virtual, that kind of thing. But having someone to work with you through it, and it really brings it to life, and you're able to then pause in each section of an assessment or each point that you're wanting them to fill out. They're really doing it the right way and not just going through it. And I just think that society today is so conditioned to give it to me fast and quick, let me get her done. And this assessment, if it is going to do all these things that you're saying that it will do, and is so different than other assessments, you really need someone that will work with you through each step of the way.
Oh, absolutely. And so we start off with a brief questionnaire. But when I'm with the person, I can do it on the phone, I start going through these answers. And one by one, I start digging deeper. I might spend 20 minutes on just one answer, because it's not about the answer. It's going deeper and deeper and deeper. And what I will find out for them is how do they derive happiness? What situations did they have that made them happy? Yeah. And also, what situation made them angry? And because it's interesting, but what generates the anger and what generates the happiness comes from the same place, which is we are driven to express our authentic identity. And that's the only need we really have. The rest are all desires and wants. But nobody could stop expressing their authentic identity. And so that's very easy, especially 15 to 18, 20-year-olds to find out, because they don't have all the bars up. They don't have the ego working yet to that degree. And so they're very open. So I find out what situations make them happy, what's the best way they learn, how do they socialize and understand relationships, what kind of causes are they up to, what do they want to produce in life, and many, many other aspects. It's about 12 of them. And I said it was about 2 hours. So this questionnaire could take 10, 15 minutes to fill out. But I spent 2 hours. And I go deeper and deeper. But at the same time, because there's children, they're not deeper from their position. It's very light from their position. So it's not intrusive whatsoever. But so what I do is I weave their answers together, and I discover, well, this person really is driven by the need to know. What else does he do? Oh, he loves science. Okay, what type of science? And then we start thinking of different ways to put all of these 12 aspects together to give the parents an idea of what they really want and what the child really wants, but together they will save money. They save money by selecting the school they really want to go to, selecting the major they really want to select and work in, and which is another point that 40% of those who graduated wish they had changed their major.
Wow.
Well, that's quite a bit.
And it's almost like a gift that you're giving to your student as a parent. Whereas if you discovered 2 years after graduation or 3 that they're in a career field that they just absolutely hate, wouldn't it be nice to be able to turn back time and go, well, just do what you love, and now you're fulfilled. And so I think it is in an intrinsic way a really big gift that you're giving to your child to make sure that they're in the right thing on the front end and not have to go back and retrace their steps.
Yeah, and this is a very profound issue because, as you well know, when you're making decisions about college at 18, 19 years old, it's going to affect you your entire life, which also means that if you're bored and you didn't select the right one, you're going to drop out and maybe never go back to college again. And all that money that your parents spent is gone, and now you're going to have a job that you're really just not going to be happy in.
Well, and then, and I'm not serious about this, but then it makes me think, well, then the kid didn't get a college degree, they don't have a good job, and they're living with you in your basement, so it's really going to cost you money in addition to wasting money. But on a serious note, I would also think that this is a factor, too. If you get someone that's really dialed into their authentic self by choosing the right assessment like you are providing, and they really are dialed in and things are clarified for them, and they're in the right school and the right major, right, and they're excited. Don't you think, or have you seen this happen, that they're taking their regular class load, and now instead of goofing off during a break or a summer, they're actually taking a extra module online, or they're taking a summer course just to knock it out, and because they're so excited about their learning. Now, what happens there is maybe they get done a semester or 2 early, and now that's more money saved.
Oh, exactly. And what I do in the assessment is discover where their passion lives. And that's very important. It's about the passion. And everyone has it, but you have to trigger it with the right ideas and the right college career, right situations. But it can be triggered. And that's what's so important, because that passion comes out in another way. They get a degree in biology, and they really love it. They're going to probably continue with a master's or maybe even a PhD, and they may even go further and create inventions. They may make great discoveries, because when you tap into the passion, that's where all your energy lies. And people that are expressing their passion, they're fantastic. It's almost like they generate miracles in life for other people, and they're inventors, and it's really an amazing thing. And it's like anyone can learn an instrument, and anyone can paint, but that doesn't mean they're an artist, and that doesn't mean they're a musician. And that's the difference. When you find your passion, you become that magician. And I've heard it said that some of these scientists get in their lab and they get so engrossed in their project that they look up and it's like, oh, it's dinner time and I haven't even eaten breakfast yet, because they're so passionate about what they're doing. They're so excited. They're not watching the clock to get to the certain hour to leave for the day. They just are really dialed in. So let's wrap up with one thought here. I just want to make this point really well. A lot of people might hear the word assessment and think, oh, yeah, I've got a guy at work that does the Myers-Briggs,
Or I've got a gal that I've used before that does the fill in the blank with any other assessment. And I'm just have my kid do that, or we're going to do that because I've done this before. Give us a little bird's eye view of how your assessment, not only your personal guidance, but the result of your assessment is different than what the traditional ones are.
Well, it's really in the questions and the language that I use, because they're all archetypes. And that's it's a living archetype, such as holistic cognition, for example. What is that? That's people thinking in many, many different ways and all at once. And they are excellent in the area of being creative. I was just thinking of one of my clients was an attorney, and it's very interesting. She found that she always wanted to go to the hospitals where there are people that couldn't speak English, and she would want to help them. And what we discovered in our assessment was that she was driven by a pragmatic rescue. You'll never have pragmatic rescue in a Myers-Briggs. It's not what it's about. The Myers-Briggs and the rest of the tests are about behavior. This is not about behavior. This is what motivates behavior. So now she understood why she went to the hospital, because she was a rescue person. And that's what really drove her. That was her motivation as an attorney. But before that, she was really also driven, and what makes her happy is she has the spiritual energy, you might say. She's really out to help people in general, and she really wants to contact them on a deeper level. Not attorneys want to do that, but she did. So now she understands that, and she understands why sometimes when you're holistic cognition, you can be overwhelmed in thought. And so we went through that so she wouldn't have that sense of being overwhelmed. And there was a great deal that she understood about when she gives her delivery, she gives her courses, that she comes across, she thinks, too strong. Well, no, they want her to be that way because she's a power person. And that's why people were drawn to her. So I feel like I'm too forceful. No, that's why they're there. So out of all of that, just that alone, she had more courage. She had more self-confidence. She understood why she did what she did. She understood why she didn't do some things. And she understood why she was drawn to the hospitals and people who couldn't understand, didn't understand English. And it all came together, but it also showed where she lives, why she lives where she lives, who she married, why she married that person. It really goes on and on and on, because it's really about life.
No traditional assessment would scratch the surface for all of that you're mentioning. Yeah.
Because it's motivation.
Yeah. It goes below the surface, because in reality, it's almost like, and I know this is a cursory statement, but most assessments will tend to look at the surface level results, but your assessment goes to the motivation that drives those results.
Yeah, well, one of the books I have is Discover the Power That Drives Your Personality. And you see, the tests only focus on personality. I'm after the motivation that drives it. Yeah. And when you do that, you get to the core of the person.
100%. That is, so now if we have the right assessment with the right person taking you through it, and we've clarified authentic self and life purpose, and now the parent of this college-bound student is heading in the right direction, choosing the right school and the right major, they're getting done maybe even a little early, and we're saving this money because it's time. Yeah. It's you're not having to go backwards and change your major a couple, 3 times. Now, I guess the question is, John, what would you say to someone that would like to maybe just get a couple questions answered before coming to you and taking this assessment for themselves or for their college-bound student? How can they reach out to you?
One is email, john@authentic-systems.com. You can email me at any time. And then, of course, go to johnvoris.com, and that's where my site is, and there's ways to get to me through that source. So either way, and I'll just talk to you if anyone want to see a little bit more of what it's like.
Well, John, thank you so much. It was really great talking with you today. I just love how we made this connection on the right assessment at the right time, just saving money for college. So thank you so much, and I'll make sure that your website address is in the show notes.
Well, thank you.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.